How's it going, everyone? My name is Ben. I'm with the band called Telehope. Today I'm super excited because I'm going to be kind of doing a song breakdown of As Long As You're Here, our new single. And I'm very excited because this is the first time I've ever done this kind of production walkthrough, partially because I just now figured out how to do it. But I'm really excited to show you kind of the production aspect of it. So, if you look on my screen here, this is my music production software called Pro Tools. There's a lot of rectangles of color. That is all audio, if you haven't guessed. But side note, if you are a producer, you might hate me for a lot of this stuff because I may or may not have a conventional way or very professional way of organizing or doing things. So I'm sorry. But for you that have no clue what this is, perfect. Calvin played drums on it. It was really cool. I'll show you some of that drumming right here. Let me get some toms in there. Sweet. So that is him playing the drums. I also have some like samples mixed in there. So that's cool, right? That's cool. It's drums. But I wanted them to smack a little harder. I wanted some more high end, some more just cool sounds in there. So I added all of this other like percussion stuff, some hats and some tambourines and bunch of stuff, bunch of samples. So that sounds like this. Which it really fills it out. I think it makes everything just smack a little harder. So here it is without and with. So I don't know. One of my favorite parts of this song is the drum fill, whatever's happening right before the saxophone solo. By the way, if you haven't heard the song, go listen to it. It's on Spotify. There's a link below to it. So here we go. So right before, so it's after the bridge, right before the sax solo, it sounds like this. In the mix, it sounds like it's just super, I love it. But I'm in love with this part. What I did was we added a normal kind of drum fill with a, at the very end, you can hear, we actually sampled a LaCroix, like sparkling water can opening. And we recorded like 10 of them because you can only open so many cans before you have to drink them all. But that was my favorite one. I thought that would work perfectly for this. Here it is on its own. And in the context with the drum fill, you don't usually hear that at the end of a drum fill, but I kind of love that. Let me see what else we got. I always find it fascinating when certain tracks are soloed, how just awful they sound. And in the mix, it sounds great, but soloed, it just doesn't sound that awesome. So here's this like kind of drum roll sample I was working with for the bridge build. So what I did was just I took like a snare roll and then just some snares and put them all together. And then I forget, what did I do here? What did I do? So I took the pitch and I just automated that and made it go up for that fill. So let's see if there's anything else. Oh, okay. So this is something else I'm super proud of for this song. It is this bridge swell. And I'll just play this bridge swell for you. Now that might sound pretty normal, like, yeah, okay, that's a swell. However, it is actually 3 different sounds mixed together, excuse me, to get this sound. So my favorite part of it, what I think makes it, is that kind of like tingly, almost like keys jingling right before it. And it makes it kind of like a glitter. Like if glitter had a sound, I feel like this is glitter. This is the glitter of the bridge. So let me actually take all the processing off of that sound. So what I have the 3 tracks. There's like a typical white noise swell. Yeah, like a white noise swell, and then we got that. It's actually a chime, and then I made another white noise swell with that, and then I did a bunch of processing. But let me take up here. These are all my plugins on these 3. I have them routed to an auxiliary track. So I'm gonna mute those, bypass those plugins, and then play you the raw sound. Isn't that crazy? It's so harsh, boring, gross. Harsh, boring, gross. With them on. And I think that just adds a lot to that bridge. It makes it just kind of like just tingly. I don't know. It adds something cool. An interesting thing about a lot of like pop songs, and what I like to do as well, is we never record Calvin playing the drums, playing his cymbals. We always take them off, because in the recording process, I find that when I go to like compress the audio and just process things, that it just squashes everything in a not preferable way. So I always add, we sample, whether we sample his crash or we get a different one. But it's just a crash, and so when the percussion is all soloed, it kind of sounds kind of weird. But especially for this type of song, I love to add tons of layers to the snare and the kick. Actually, I think there's two kicks here, but the snare is what I want to focus on. We have, let's see. We have obviously the snare that he's playing, and then we got some claps and some snaps and like some other snare samples in there. So this is just the snare, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers, 6 layers of snare. Kind of sounds a little lame on its own. However, when you're making music, you have to focus on, does it sound good in the mix? And I just wanted something that happened like a little after the snare, just to kind of fill it out, and claps are a perfect way to do that. For the intro, I knew I needed some kind of like percussion, like almost like a marching band percussion with like a filter on it to make it kind of sweep up, and I'll kind of show you that here. So here we got that marching band percussion. We got a sweep up, like filtering it up. And yeah, that's pretty simple, but I think in the context of the mix, it's really cool. Oh, other thing is really cool. I have this skateboard sample, and using like some filtering and some other like distortion stuff, I made like a swell out of it, or like almost a reverse in that first verse. Here, it's like a skateboard passing by. So that's a fun one. Okay, the bass, the driving, distorted, up in your face bass. The fun thing about this is that I watched a tutorial of Charlie Puth playing and producing his song Attention, and he used this software, this bass software called Trillion. And so I got Trillion, and I adore Trillion. We don't have a bass player, and Trillion is just great. It's so fun, but it's a plugin that you pretty much play on your keyboard, but it sounds like this. And then the chorus. So it's just groovy. It's just like, ooh. Anyway, I knew we needed like this driving bass to make the song. And so I knew I would have to spend so long producing this bass and making sure the composition was just right. So I sat on my couch for hours and hours, just like messing with every little note and making sure it was right. I love Trillion because it's so real sounding, and what I added. So I'll mute this. I'll mute this main bass. So you can add like slide sounds and like like muting sounds. So together. So I added that to make it sound more real. I'm not sure if you can really hear that. I mean, if you're listening in the final mix, like really closely, you can hear it. But I'm super happy with how the bass turned out. And then we got this verse 2. We bring in the sub bass, and then I just take just put the normal bass into super grit mode, and then put that sub bass down here. If you're wearing headphones, you can kind of hear it, or if you're on just like your phone speakers, you might not be able to hear it that well. So in the verse, there's this part where it kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. There's just like this filter and this sweep where we take the bass and take all of the high end out of it, but bring it back really, really quickly. And we added some guitars and stuff there too, but here's how that sounds. And I just love that part in the song because it's just like, it's kind of, you can't really tell what it is, but it sounds like a guitar. Is it a bass? Is it a synth? With that bass part in that verse, we added this like, it's like this weird synth. Maybe it's a vocoder. I forget. Yeah, so it's like super, isn't that weird? It's like, it sounds kind of gross on its own, but with the bass. And then this is kind of like some weird sounds with the second verse with the police lights. We actually, I found some videos on YouTube that had some police sirens in it, and I just downloaded the audio from that and put that together in here. So it's super subtle, like I think you can tell it's there. It kind of goes along with the topic of the verse, but I think it's kind of cool that like just a little bit of police sirens in there, but not too much. So a big part of this song is kind of the piano and the keys driving it, especially in the later choruses. But I'll just play you that real quick. So that is a plugin called Omnisphere. I really liked some of the pianos in there. It's just like no low end. Like it doesn't need low end in this song. It just needs that like crunchy, like high end. But it gets that kind of pulsing motion. I have this plugin called, oh, it's not on it because I bounced it. But it's called Blue Cat's Patchwork, and you put it on there. So I have this plugin called Kickstart by Nicky Romero, and what it does is basically it's automatic side chaining. So, and this is what, instead of explaining side chaining, I'll just show you. So this is without any side chaining. And then I turn that up. So every quarter note, it go like the volume just goes down. It's like, so I love this because it brings kind of some energy where there wouldn't be. So that piano was just a normal piano, but then I added that plugin, and I think it adds just some life to it. Probably my favorite part of the keys is at the end. This other keys arrangement comes in too, and then all together it's just like just a wall of wonderful pianos. Those all have that plug-in that side chains it. So now we're to the guitars. Mr. Adolph, our guitarist and vocalist, he played some really cool guitar on this song. This is like the main chorus guitar. It's groovy, it's funky, it's fun. Isn't it fun? It also has this kind of other guitar part under it. Together. It's so groovy. There's a lot of things in pop music that are there in the song, but you don't really hear it necessarily. So, such as these guitar parts in the, I believe, pre-chorus or second verse. But I love that kind of delayed guitar. Kind of got that guitar swell here and here. I just had him play that note for a little bit and then hold it out, and then I reverse that. And that's how you get that guitar swell. But yeah, not a ton of guitars, but what is there adds a ton to the mix, and it would not be the same without it. Love you, Adolph. So we get to probably my favorite part of the song. The first time we've ever done this is a saxophone solo. Now, Calvin can play the saxophone, and I'll just kind of play a little bit of that lead here. So the interesting thing about this saxophone solo is it wasn't cutting through the mix enough. Like, it was there, but you couldn't hear it perfectly. So what I actually did was add a lot of distortion, if you couldn't hear, to that saxophone. So without it, it sounds like this. Where in like a normal setting, like, it sounds like a saxophone. And like this, it sounds kind of gross and disgusting. However, when you go into the mix, it's like you wouldn't be able to tell that there's distortion on it, but it cuts through pretty nicely because there's so much going on that it needs its own like sonic space. So we also have some really fun trombone and trumpet stuff. Actually, Adolph's little brother Samuel recorded some trumpet, and Adolph's cousin Alex recorded some trombone. So let me just play that. This is here underneath like the guitar. So I just kind of had them play some like staccato notes, and I think it adds really nicely under that guitar during the saxophone solo. It's just like dun dun, like oof. But in the bridge, it kind of has this like horn swell. And I just asked them just to play random, like not random, but notes in that scale. And we just put some reverb on it. And I think it builds up that bridge pretty well. And then I did this like reverb swell with those horns here. So in the context, remember that it was that drum fill with the LaCroix can opening that kind of like adds a little bit of ambient sounds to it. So that's such a fun part of the song. All right, so we get to probably the most important part of the recording process, which is the vocals. And as you can see, there are a lot of layers of vocals. These are all vocals. All this blue, all this yellow, all this blue and yellow. So the I'll start in the chorus. So the chorus vocals have a lot of layers.
Baby, let's get away from here. It doesn't matter where we are as long as you're here. As long as you're here, you make life worth living.
So a big part of this vocal sound is kind of this chant. It's not a chant, but we did some like gang vocals. So what we did, we set up a microphone back here, and then the three of us stand behind it, and we all sing it at the same time. Now that, to me, gets this kind of like more like kind of a bigger, less like tight sound. It's just like reverb. It's a lot. And you'll see what I mean. I'll play it again without that kind of gang vocal right here.
Baby, let's get away from here.
And then with it.
Baby, let's get away from here.
It just kind of sounds like a lot of people are singing it. And I really liked that effect for this chorus because I don't know, it just felt like it needed it, you know? Let me just actually solo that.
Baby, let's get away from here. It doesn't matter where we are as long as you're here. As long as you're here.
So we probably recorded that like 4 times and then put that into one audio file, and that's what that is. So I did like a bunch of falsettos.
Baby, let's get away from here. It doesn't matter where we are as long as you're here. As long as you're here.
And there's a lot of chopping, a lot of stuff going on with the arrangement, with the producing it up. Let's see what this is.
Baby, let's get away from here. It doesn't matter where we are as long as you're here. As long as you're here.
So I have this plugin that when you record vocals, oftentimes if 2 people are singing or even 2 takes of yourself, part of your vocals can be off. And so if one is saying like an S sound before the other, it can sound kind of messy. So what I do, I got this plugin called Vocaline, and what it does is basically you scan this audio and then you scan the dub, and then you capture it and then spot it. So that means that it's going to make it exactly aligned with the other vocal. And that has saved me so much time. Oh my gosh, hundreds of hours, but like literally hundreds of hours. That's why there's like little like glitches in the vocals here and there. But one of the things is this is such a high key that I can't sing it full chest voice, and neither can Adolph. So what I had to do was do parts of it in full voice, and then the others we just sang it in falsetto, like really high. So this is kind of that first part.
Baby, let's.
So that's what I could sing, and then you put this in.
Baby, let's get away from here. Baby, let's get away from.
So it kind of like blends into each other. It's kind of cool, but I think it needs that like energy of that first like chest voice kind of thing. The guys really like these harmonies that I did, so I'll show you.
As long as you're here.
And that is me doing those harmonies. So
As long as you're here.
so that's in there.
As long as you're here, you
I'll jump to that last chorus when there's like dunna, dunna, dunna. It kind of just like a stop there. I added this really fun harmony over here.
You make life worth living, and I'm loving you as long as you're here.
At this point, there's so many vocals going on. It's just insane.
And I'm loving you as long as living, and I'm loving you as long as you're here.
And that's just so fun. That's so fun to do. It's fun to do live. So in that intro, we have this kind of like almost robotic Adolph sound, like bringing in that first "as long as you're here." So basically, I took his "as long as you're here," he sang in the chorus, and then tuned it up an octave, and then put a high pass filter on it, and swept that up. A fun thing I did in the verse 2 was when we're talking about police lights and stuff, I kind of took his vocal, his normal vocal, and then I doubled vocal, and I turned the normal vocal down while I brought in this doubled vocal with kind of like a voice box, like almost like it's coming through a radio effect up. So they kind of like overlap each other, and my goal with that was to make it sound like a cop talking through his loudspeaker here.
Like a disco ball from the police light.
So you can hear it again here.
Disco ball from the police light.
You can hear that.
Disco ball from the police light. Disco ball from the police light.
That was like a fun little thing.
You say it's easier if we
Got a
don't fall
vocoder
in
going there.
love.
For the pre-chorus, this was kind of like a tricky pre-chorus.
Ooh, ooh, yeah, we're staying up all night again. Ooh, ooh, yeah.
For this, we did like a lot of gang vocals again. So we got a couple here, and then it's so high that it felt like it lended itself to falsetto. So we all kind of did some falsettos there, which is super fun. So we got like a vocal chop there.
I don't care.
Kind of like a reverse. So if you're not bored out of your mind yet, I'm going to bore you with my vocal chain. So this is a super important part of mixing is the vocal chain of compression and EQing and all that fun stuff. So here I'll use Adolph's verse vocal.
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
So this is kind of soloed.
Gotta work in the morning, but I don't care.
Let me take all of the processing off of that.
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
It's pretty boring.
Gotta work in the morning, but I don't care.
It's just like him just singing like in the room, and like there's nothing on it. So what I did, I added this EQ on it to add some higher frequencies and bring that out a little more.
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
And then I compressed it a little bit.
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
I guess a little bit is a under exaggeration. I like to compress a lot, but
Backseat and a bottle of wine to
add
share.
a little saturation to it. Also
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
kind of doubled it, but I left the original in there, so you kind of have a little bit of doubling on the sides, but we still got that main front and center vocal. I also added this, it's a vocal writer.
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
And that's just kind of like automating some vocal volume there. I also got a de-esser.
Backseat and a bottle of wine.
Takes some of those harsh S's sounds out of it. And then what did I do? I guess I used this to turn it up a little bit. And then I have Valhalla, which I love Valhalla reverb.
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
And this is, if you're a producer still watching, if for somehow you're still watching, you'll be like, why didn't you add that as a bus and then put it as a bus reverb? I'm like, well, I've tried that and it's not fun. Anyway,
Backseat and a bottle of wine to share.
Just brings that vocal front and center clarity. So I think in pop music, what makes a song kind of just like hit you hard at the end is when there are a lot of like ad libs, when there's just like a lot of random vocal stuff in like the last chorus. So I've always found that like a little tricky to do, as far as like casual things. It's easy to put in melodic things, but casual things like yep or random things like that. Let me bring up some of those ad libs.
Away from here, doesn't matter.
So we got Adolph, Calvin, and myself all doing some random stuff. So I'll just play the last chorus, just the ad libs. They're super fun.
Away from here, doesn't matter where. Sing it to me, lady. You're here, you're here, you're here. You make life living. Yeah.
Adolph, take your pants off. Oh man. So yeah, there's just a lot of that, and if you pay attention in like songs, there's kind of a lot of that kind of thing at the very end of a song. So I think one thing that makes this song a little powerful is the one of my vocal takes in the last chorus. I was like, it needs some like super high, like powerful, something powerful. So you can kind of hear it, but here it is. Here it is soloed.
Baby, let's get away.
So, and then the second time I do that,
Baby, let's get away.
and I think in the context of the mix, it's just like, it kind of slaps you a little bit in a, in a fun way.
You made life worth living, and I'm loving you.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of things. Oh, the number one best vocal part of this song right here. Woo! Calvin's Woo. I feel like we need a shirt called Calvin's Woo. Maybe not. Another cool thing that I've never done before is putting hey in the background. So we all just yelled, hey.
Hey! 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 Hey!
Oh, and then we had the chant there.
You're here! Hey!
It sounds so dumb like on its own, but
Hey! You're here!
so that pretty much covers like everything as far as production goes in this song. It was definitely one of the more non-electronic songs that I've done, so there's not really many synths or kind of electronic sounds like that. It was all like organic, just recorded sounds that it was really fun to work with. And I won't go into the mixing side today really, but I just wanted to show you the production, and thanks for sticking around. If you're still here, stay tuned for the next song whenever it comes out, hopefully soon.
Baby, let's get away from here. It doesn't matter where we are, as long as you're here. As long as you're here. Backseat and a bottle of wine to share. Gotta work in the morning, but I don't care. You say it's easier if we don't fall in love. Ooh, yeah, we're staying up all night again. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah, we're staying up all night again. Ooh, yeah. Baby, let's get away from here. It doesn't matter where we are, as long as you're here. As long as you're here. You make life worth living, and I'm loving you as long as you're here. As long as you're here. Midnight and the light flickers off your eyes, like a disco ball from the police light. You say it's easier if we don't fall in love. Ooh, yeah, we're staying up all night again. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah, we're staying up all night again. Ooh, yeah. Baby, and I'm lonely